Welcome everyone to this video as we look to explain how to apply for professional accreditation. This includes all of our professional certifications and data science awards. And we've also got one of our future leaders with us, Bridget, to talk about how she applied for Chartered Statistician, how it was awarded and how she approached an application. So you can see both from what the RSS are looking for in terms of an assessment and standard point of view, but also from an individual's point of view as to how they approached an application and the kind of information they felt was helpful to include. So thank you for coming to this video and we hope you enjoy it. So we're just going to get started now on the standards. So when we think of professionals, we think of doctors, lawyers, engineers, and so forth, people with professional titles. Sometimes these are chartered titles, and the principles is the same throughout many industries. And these can be explained by the 8 core characteristics of professionalism. These are competence, knowledge, conscientiousness, integrity, respect, emotional intelligence, appropriateness, and confidence. So these are the key characteristics you're looking to evidence when you're looking to apply for a professional qualification. The obvious ones are the competencies and the knowledge, so how you match these against standards. But also what we want to see is the conscientiousness, the integrity, respect, the appropriateness, the confidence in your application and your work, and emotional intelligence and your experience as well. When you apply for certification, it's also a commitment that you're making to yourself and to your future employers with regards to you also taking responsibility for your professional development. So when you think of continued professional development, you're actually making a statement to say you're taking ownership of that and that you consciously go out to improve every day. Now, in terms of what this looks like at the Royal Statistical Society, we have 2 professional pathways, and these are evident by what's on screen now. So you can see our traditional pathway that we've had for many years now, that focuses on the statistical competencies and standards at the RSS, ranging from data analyst to grad stat to chartered statistician. And then you can see our more recent addition with our data science certificates that we've developed, backed by our data science standards and done in partnership with the Alliance of Data Science Professionals. So these represent 2 different industries, so one in pure statistics and one in wider data science, where it's very much underpinned by one of the foundational skills that is statistics and maths, but it allows for wider industries and roles to gain recognition as well. Now, as you will see, these are underpinned by our competency frameworks. They recognise a combination of education, experience, competence, and they also show a commitment to ethics at a high level. Just to give you an example, why we've used the pyramid scheme is because you naturally see more people certified at the lower levels, and then as you get higher to the higher awards, the numbers start to get smaller because they are the pinnacle. It also gives you the sort of the remit in terms of what you're able to focus on. So data analyst is a foundational certification, entry-level foundation certificate for each of these pathways, because they represent individuals who have entry-level skills in experience with data. So this could be anything with doing a course that teaches them how to program using R or Python, or just basic and introductory into statistics or Bayesian techniques. So really a multitude of things, and do check out our website for a list of accredited quality mark training that is aimed at that level. The level above are more graduate level certifications, so graduate statistician and data science professional. Graduate statistician is awarded to anyone who has done an accredited degree with the RSS, or someone who has worked for at least 2 years in industry and has been educated at degree level in any discipline. On the data science professional side, it's anyone who, again, has been educated to degree level but has at least 2 years work experience. We are in the process of beginning the process for accrediting university degrees in data science, but this will come later. And then at the top, we've got our chartered level awards, chartered data science, chartered statistician, and the chartered data science professional. Now, it is in the process of becoming an official charter, so any certifications and awards at this stage will only be called advanced data science professional, However, we very much hope to be calling it Chartered Data Science Professional in time. As we move forward, I'll talk about the statistical pathway in a bit more detail in terms of the requirements. So at data analyst, the bottom of the pyramid, as you see, you need at least one quality mark course or equivalent. So this is a training program that has been accredited by the RSS or equivalent. So as I say, an entry level statistical program or data programming training course. This could either be run by a training provider, such as the RSS or another training provider, or it can be a statistical module as part of a degree that you've done. So if you've taken a geography degree, but you've done an analytical module, that would probably very much meet our standard for this. You must have at least 1 year's work experience gained either during or before or after the time of that training, so that we can see how that training's been put into practice. And you also need to evidence CPD. So we need to see 30 hours in the last 12 months of what continued professional development you have undertaken. And I'll come on to more about that in a moment. At the graduate level, a graduate statistician, as I mentioned earlier, you need to have completed an accredited degree or have 2 years work experience, as well as been educated degree level and have the relevant CPD as well as part of your application. For graduates, it's 2 years work experience and 60 hours of CPD in the last 12 months. At chartered level, we have 2 routes. We have what we call a standard route, so someone who's done an accredited degree and has 5 years work experience, or a competency-based route where someone has 5 years work experience and been educated to degree level, and they can evidence that they meet the standard via the competency, by evidencing against the competencies within the application. And we'll come on to that again a bit later. For the data science pathway, again, we start with data analyst at the bottom, so I won't go over that again. It's the same requirements, it's the same award. For the data science professional, you need at least 2 years work experience, educated to degree level, had completed 1 year's worth of CPD, totaling 60 hours, and you're able to answer some competency-based questions. For the advanced data science professional, you need at least 5 years work experience, educated to degree level in any discipline. You may have done some quality mark training, but then you need your CPD and 2 references, and you answer some competency-based questions. So they're the formal requirements in terms of what's required at each level. In terms of things that can help you get there that are organised by the RSS, we do lots of training at the RSS, and about 30 courses are actually accredited by our standards, and a lot of those are on screen. So these are just examples of some of the training we do. We offer them online, we offer in-company courses and also public courses as well in person. So do have a look at our website for the full range of options of training that we offer, but a lot of these you'll find will go towards your application. Other activities that we offer include mentoring. So we offer mentoring to all members of the RSS. You're able to sign up to the mentoring platform and really put in what you're looking to gain out of a mentoring experience and pick your own mentor and work with them as closely as you deem is necessary for you. This is a great way to widen your network, gain referees, and also just meet new people and learn new skills. The big thing as part of each of our applications is the continuing professional development, so CPD. You would have heard me mention it a few times by this point in terms of that it's required and the number of hours are required at each level. So what is CPD? It's an evidence where you show how you've continued your professional development, and we encourage all members to undertake CPD, but it is a requirement of professionally qualified members to maintain it. So what counts? So work-based learning, a lot of CPD, there's a lot of myths around CPD in terms of what counts and what doesn't count. And actually you undertake quite a lot of natural CPD every day. It's just about figuring out what that is and recording it. So work-based learning can be doing a work-based task for the first time. So I might have had academic training in how to use R software. However, when I've started my employment career, this particular company only used Python, so therefore I have to learn how to use Python. the hours I spend learning how to use that program and maybe adapting it for the first time, that they count as CPD hours. Because I've learned a new activity, a new skill, I'm able to evidence what I've learned, how long I spent learning it, and how it's impacted me, but also how it's had a wider impact. So it helped me achieve a particular task where that work was able to have wider impact, but also I was then able to learn a new skill that I was able to share with others as they come on board in this company as well. So again, that's a work-based activity. They can also be related to your professional development in terms of management. So it doesn't have to be statistical related or data related. It can be you've undertaken management for the first time and then you've gone on a management course to realize how to best manage staff. Again, some of the learning hours there count towards your CPD. Things to be wary of are the amount of hours you include. So if you are undertaking project management for the first time or a new area of projects that you haven't done previously, and it's an 8-week project, really I'd only be expecting to see the hours from that first week or two to count as towards your CPD, because it's learning hours, not the amount of hours for that entire activity. At some point it just becomes that's the process and that's the job. They're not learning hours. So do be mindful when you're putting in learning hours. I'm not looking for 8 weeks worth of activity in one column. Professional activity, so activity taking part within industry. So this could be things like coming to this webinar, watching this video, going to a conference. So more engaging in the wider profession, if you like. So that counts as professional activity. Formal and educational. Again, this can be things like going to a training course, the more traditional type of CPD, things you're more aware of. So training courses, again, conferences where there might be a workshop where you're undertaking learning and so forth. Again, a note about learning hours with regards to the last two, professional activity and formal activity. If you are going to a 5-day conference, I'm not expecting to see 5 days worth of hours on your CPD form. You know, there'll be times where you would have been on your lunch break, you would have attended a session that you may already be familiar with, so you may not necessarily be learning. So do remember those things when you're applying this to your CPD. We need to see what you've learned, how you've learned it, and how it's impacted you, and the wider impact you plan for it to have. So, you know, if you've just put down 5 days of hours on a conference, it's harder then to justify in the next few columns. We really do need to see that split. Self-directed learning, we see a lot of this, especially with the growth of data science, so how people take ownership in terms of how they've learned skills. So a lot of people have learned skills online by doing online courses, online YouTubes, online videos, tutorials, and things like this. This all counts towards your CPD and should still be recorded. If you're stuck for offering for recording CPD, we do actually offer an online recording service via the My RSS section for members to record their CPD online. Also, we've got a Word document that you can download and edit as you go. Do look out for that. In terms of activities with the RSS that count towards CPD, we offer lots of volunteering opportunities. So you may already be part of working with our journals, or you might be interested in becoming a reviewer or an associate editor. They all count towards CPD. Working with our sections and local groups, so even working with them or just attending meetings, they count towards CPD. The same with discussion meetings. And our annual conference and training courses are the obvious ones in terms of what counts towards CPD, but all of these opportunities with the RSS do count. So that's the sort of requirements in terms of what's necessary to apply and things you need to think of, and what may be necessary for you, and how the RSS offer different activities to help you gain experience as you look to apply for professional membership. What I'm going to do now is show you a live example and hand it over to Bridget to talk about her experiences as we went through an application and actually applied for chartered statistician herself. We'll go through the application and she'll talk you through how she approached them and the things she thought of and how she completed the form. And then we'll look at her CPD, and Bridget will give you again her advice on CPD, and I'll just talk about what the assessors are looking for and how this is a really good example to work through. So I will just stop sharing my screen now, and I will go to a live screen. And here we are. So Bridget, I'll hand over to you.
All right. Thank you, Ricky. So in terms of my application, which is on here right now, I think that I applied for the chartered statistician through the competency route. So there are various routes, like Ricky already mentioned. I went through the competency route, and there are the initial questions around academic qualifications, which I have gone. So I had my BSc in economics and statistics, and all of the information needed. So the questions are all there. You have to take time to make sure you are putting in the right responses, obviously. So I think in terms of this section on qualifications, the relevant courses was one that took a bit of time. I had to go to my transcripts to be able to look at the relevant courses in there. And of course, I uploaded that transcript and my certificate as well. So there are quite a number of questions to go through for the qualifications. So all of that in that section. For bachelor's degree, my master's, and then also my PhD as well. So just trying to make sure that I have included all of the relevant things needed. Then to professional experience. So because the competency route also requires you to have at least 5 years experience, so I had to list enough experience to show that I have 5 years experience, work experience. So job title, like sort of job descriptions or things you did in the role that shows that you have some statistical experience, or yeah. So all of that. So I had 4 professional experience, and the dates cover up to 5 years, 5 years of experience. Then the next section was the continuing professional development. So that took a bit of time. And the reason was that I needed to provide 120 hours for 2 years. And so at the beginning, you have to also provide a brief description of the 24-month period, what you were doing in that time. For me, the last 24 months, I was doing my PhD. And so that allowed me to do a lot of conferences, a lot of training. There were new learnings. And so I had quite a number of things to pull from my PhD experience. So I did a summary of what my PhD was about, and some of the things I was involved in during the PhD, so in that 24-month period. So moving on to the specific activities. So I had to look through the requirements, and also there were some examples on the website for different professions that you can look at. So I saw one of, I think, an academic. I saw another one of a consultant. So if you can just look at different, I think there are also 4 or 5 examples of continuing professional development that is uploaded on the website. So I used that to sort of have an idea of the kind of activities I could list. And so for me, I there were some times I had to I had supervision meetings with my supervisors where I learned new things. And they were showing me how to go about maybe data analysis, or a specific section of my work. I was able to summarize that. I also took quite a number of courses over my PhD period: writing, job searching, engaging with policy makers, and different kind of trainings like that. So I listed all of that as well, and how they were useful to me in my learning. Another thing was also, you need to show if you are the last column was about how to prove that you went through that. A lot of that was from maybe calendar invites for those meetings or those trainings. So I was able to check some of them were certificates that I'd gotten after the training. So you have to list what's the evidence, how you evidence your activity as well. Yeah, so I approach this from from formal education, professional activity, self-directed learning, and it's a lot of reflecting. You have to spend time reflecting, but also maybe going through your emails and your calendar to see things that have happened, because it's not easy to remember a two-year period of what you were doing. So it took quite a while to actually complete this section. But when I went through it, I was really proud of all the CPD I'd achieved in the last 2 years. So that's that on CPD. I would say that the examples on the website were really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just to jump in there, Bridget, I think from an assessor's point of view, there's a lot of positives taken here, and you've already alluded to them. I think the examples on the website are definitely something we would encourage you all to review when you're thinking about applying for a professional title that had the requirement of CPD. I think some of the useful techniques we try to advise people who are thinking about it is as they go to record their CPD, it's where the most of their time is spent on the applications. So we would get into the habit of any training you're doing, learning you're doing, where it's in your electronic diaries, especially, maybe take use of the color coding within Outlook, code it as a CPD opportunity. And that way, when you do go backwards, it helps highlight it in your own mind. And also then as you go forward, by doing that, I would also accompany with recording it on a Word document. So then it just becomes more habitual than actual a problem, because a lot of people look at CPD as the thing where, oh God, that takes a lot of time, so I may not, that may put me off. Whereas actually it's a lot easier than you think if you're recording it more naturally and as you're going. And I think the other thing to notice is, as Bridget said, it's actually quite pleasing when you go through this activity, because you do take note of how much you've actually done in the past and how much you've learned, and so that's a real good positive to have. And as you go into the rest of the application, it's quite supportive as you go into the competency questions as well. So I'll hand back over to Bridget.
Yeah, thanks, Ricky. I definitely agree with that. Okay. Okay, yeah. So then the competency documents. So there were 4 competency questions. I had to answer the questions, more like reflection on my competency and use of statistics, knowledge, experience. And so again, there was a bit of reflection. So both from my professional experience, working as a researcher, a data analyst, a statistician, but also as a student doing a PhD in advanced quantitative methods. So at the beginning, I think the questions were a bit, maybe not very clear at the beginning, but I spent quite a number of, I spent quite some time trying to understand it. But what I found helpful were the points that were listed. So under each competency question, there are some bullet points that give you some examples of what you can include. So that also helped me really think about the kind of example I wanted to reflect on in my application. So I don't know if I can talk about anyone in particular. So this one currently highlighted talks about improvements and lessons you learned from your work. So how your actions can help improve the statistical practice and all of that. And so just reflecting on my PhD journey and some of the challenges I had in analyzing the data for my PhD, for example, and how I was able to reflect on that and provide some recommendations for future researchers. So that was the kind of example I used. So I'm sure there are a wide range of examples one can use, but I think those bullet points help you sort of narrow it down. and give you some clear points to how on how to answer the question. Yeah, it took me months to complete this, but it was worth it in the end. So I encourage anyone to just take the time. Each question you might need to spend some time reflecting, but yeah, it's really helpful in the end.
Thanks, Bridget, for allowing us to go through your application. I think it's very helpful for viewers of the video to see examples of an application and hear from yourself in your experiences, which I think is really positive for everyone. And what's really great to see, it was a competency-based application, so we're able to see someone come from a degree that isn't accredited, and also you're able to evidence how you've met those competencies as well. So it really does show the breadth of the form and the approach you have to take to actually gain that certification. As I would say to everyone, these applications are a form of assessment, and we know it's not as easy as answering questions and being given the award. And you can see Bridget's dedication in that application, and it was a really well thought out application, and really well reviewed and really well assessed application, and we were all pleased as assessors to see that. In terms of some extra points I would just have around, you'll see there was a section for referees, so our advanced titles and our graduate titles, if you're applying via the competency routes, they do require at least 2 referees. And they, at least one has to be from industry, so either a statistician or a data scientist or someone working in data science, and they must know you from the last 5 years, and it's ideal if the references cover the last 5-year period. What we do is when an application is submitted with their details, the application form, or that section of the application form, is actually sent to those referees, and they're able to confirm or approve. It's probably more appropriate that their support of the application. And at that point is when we send it to assessors. Now, although our assessments happen on a rolling basis, so we do try to review them on an online basis quite often with our professional affairs committee. Some borderline cases do have to be discussed at in-person meetings, and we hold those 5 times a year. They are typically in February, April, June, and October. So depending on when that referee comes back determines, one, when it gets sent out to assessors, and 2, which of the meetings it's likely to then go to if it's a borderline case. So sometimes an application can take a matter of weeks, but sometimes it can go into months, just depending on where it falls in the calendar year. So for example, we've just held our July meeting at the time of recording this video, and our next meeting isn't until October. So there can be a bit of a lapse. So do be aware of that. Other things to note is that it can be a really collaborative process. So when an application is submitted, the office first review it, and if we feel there's something missing from an application or something that could be explained better, we will come back to you and ask you to make those edits before sending it to an assessor. And again, when the assessors see it, it's entirely collaborative. We don't refuse people and tell them not to apply in the future. We actually come back with constructive advice as to how to get you over the line and how to help you. So do not feel like you only have one chance at applying for a professional certification. We're here to help you. Me and my team are here to help you, and also the assessors are definitely here to help you as well. So do take confidence in that. Otherwise, I think that's it from us. Thank you for listening or for watching, whichever method you've chosen, and we look forward to seeing your application soon. Take care.